coming at you from our guest room today to go over my vintage Game Boy collection. Now, I don't think I necessarily look like the type of person that collects Game Boys, but man, do I love Game Boys. I grew up with two younger brothers and my dad who were just obsessed with video games. I spent my childhood playing the Game Boy. And while I don't have every version and I don't have every color, and my collection is pretty small, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, I only have like 6 real things to show you. But I just kind of wanted to make a video to talk about what I have, why I decided to go back and get these consoles, the games I love on them, like what are the ones worth picking up, would I still want to play these today? You know, I just really like Game Boys, so I just wanted to dedicate a video talking about my love of it. If you are like me, we can chat in the comments and let's get cracking. So straight up, I actually don't have the original Game Boy, so the very first one that started it all. That was never something that we had in our family. I was born in 91, so for me that might have been just like a hair too early. And the one that actually I think if you're more in my age range, might have been one of the first ones you got would have been the Game Boy Pocket. This is essentially the original Game Boy, it's just in a smaller size, and Nintendo had really wanted to give people the option of playing the Game Boy, but like more portably or on the go. The original Game Boy is a little bit chunkier than this one. It's funny to me that this is called Pocket. I'm a woman, our pockets are not this big. So this would never have really been a Game Boy Pocket, but for all intents and purposes, it's essentially the same as the original Game Boy. It just comes in this little bite-sized version and played all of the original Game Boy games. I think where it really started to be more of a fad for people my age range would have actually been with the Game Boy Color. So as you can see, and I can just kind of show you the difference, pretty minimal. I feel like half the time when I go into my drawer to look at these, I can't even tell the difference between them. But the Game Boy Color came onto the scene and was really, it added color to the family of Game Boy. But for me, I think it was the start of this like really crucial period of mobile and handheld video gaming. I mean, I know that the Game Boy itself was pretty revolutionary, but the Game Boy Color, at least for me, is when I think people my generation started to like super get into it. This was where we saw Pokemon, you know? In fact, I went on a spree and ended up getting the Game Boy Color that I grew up with. So this was my color, not my color. I actually traded in. I was that kid that always wanted the newest console, and so I ended up trading in all of my Game Boys to get the newest one. So I would literally, like, if, you know, when the Game Boy Advance came out, I basically traded this one in with all of my games so that I could like put that money towards the newest console. In hindsight, I super regret that because now I'm sitting here at like almost 30 really wishing I had my childhood games and, you know, had to go rebuy them all. But this was the color I grew up with. It was this beautiful, bright, pinkish red color, and I played Pokemon Red on it, which is what I have in here today. I've actually been replaying it a little bit. I will put on the screen what I ended up paying for this on, I think I bought this one on GameStop used. When I checked yesterday to see if GameStop still was selling these secondhand used, they seem to be out of stock out of all of the more vintage consoles, which is really a bummer. I think that tells me one of two things. It either means a bunch of us went on during the last year of quarantine and we just like went on a rampage buying all of our old nostalgic items. That's pretty much what happened to me. Last year I got a kick to just have all my old childhood things back, and so I went and purchased. It either means that or it means that they are just no longer going to be selling vintage consoles like this anymore. So I really hope that's not the case, because if you are trying to get a hold of one, really your only option right now is going on eBay. I have purchased one of my consoles here on eBay, so I will talk about that process. But I did think GameStop was pretty legit. They were very honest and open about what the quality of the item was. I thought the pricing was not horrible, although I kind of can't believe I paid that for, you know, something that's almost as old as I am. It's a little bit absurd. But anyway, I've really enjoyed having the Game Boy Color back in my collection. What I will say is when you have graduated to such a better quality screen, it is so hard to go back to this screen. I forgot that this is not backlit. There are no lights. And so then, friend, how did we ever play without backlit screens? We had worm lights. Yes, we had worm lights. I paid $15 to get a worm light. I clearly have not opened it, but what I find myself doing when I'm playing now is I sort of am like tilting the screen towards the light, which is like a game in itself, trying to catch the right light to be able to see the game. So that's a little bit of a con of playing an older console. The other thing is that they take AA batteries. I went ahead and bought some rechargeable AA batteries. They tend to last a while, so it's not really a big deal. And then yeah, I would say that the games have just changed a lot. Like playing this version of the Pokemon games, like Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, Blue, all of that stuff. The games now, like the remakes, Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, they're so much easier than this was. This was really hard. And going back and playing it again, I'm kind of like, I can't believe that we as kids put up with this. It was hard. So I've kind of enjoyed the challenge. I've enjoyed having something that doesn't feel so high tech. It causes me to have to like force to disconnect a little bit. It's just been fun to like reconnect with something from my childhood. I will say I'm kind of dying to get the atomic purple color. I would love to collect all the colors. Don't tell my husband. But for now, this has been a fun one to have back in my collection and just kind of like see it and remember being a kid and falling in love with gaming. So after the color came the Advance. This is the original Game Boy Advance. Again, this is the color that I had as a kid. I repurchased the one I grew up with because again, I just wanted my Game Boy, you know? That's what I wanted back, was my Game Boy. The Game Boy Advance was just like one iteration further of the Game Boy Color. I don't think I felt like there was any huge differences between the two. The screen is still not backlit. So again, you're either kind of playing that game of catching the light or you had a worm light. You were that kid. So I don't necessarily think that the experience itself was that different. They obviously came out with a whole host of new games, so the Game Boy Advance games were more in this cartridge style versus being like this one, you know? So we kind of are migrating towards things that are a little bit sleeker, a little bit more compact and tiny versus, you know, these are pretty big cartridges, so that was probably a really big aesthetic difference, is just that we started getting into the smaller cartridges. We never really saw anything as big as the Game Boy Color cartridges again after this. I thought the hand feel on this one was really nice. I kind of liked being able to be a little bit more spread out versus tight with the Game Boy Color. It's been nice to have both again. And then I actually had a friend who gave me her old one, so I have it in white as well. Again, I would like to just collect all the colors. We don't need to tell anyone. Okay, where we saw the biggest update, I feel like, and I actually never owned this as a kid, so it's kind of funny that I went ahead and bought this as an adult. But when I was having my backlight complaints, right, like I couldn't play my game and see it in the light of day, that's when I realized that's why they came out with the SP. So the Game Boy Advance SP was this much sleeker version, right? When you compare something like this with the fold up, it kind of looks like a flip phone. It reminds me of like a Razor. My cat's gonna join us for the rest of the video. When you kind of compare it to this, I mean, it was just a much sleeker design, but the big advantage of having this one was that it has a backlight. So you could actually play all of your Game Boy Color games and your Game Boy Advance games, but you could actually finally see the screen, which is a bit revolutionary. I'm surprised that I never ended up with this one. I think I just was on the Game Boy Advance trend for so long. It wasn't like my parents were willing to upgrade me. I know my brothers had these and even my mom had one, but this is my first one. I did purchase this one on eBay. It is fairly banged up on the top here. It has plenty of scratches, but it is functional. It has a perfectly chargeable and working battery. It is in great working condition. Other than the dings and scratches, it's a pleasure to play on. I think if you are a true collector and you really want things to be in mint condition, you might need to be a little bit careful with places like eBay and just ensure that you have some ability to return the item if it is not as described. But if you're like me and you just kind of want to replay these games that you used to love, maybe you don't mind. I do feel like, again, it was still kind of expensive to purchase something like this. I'm sure it was like sub $100, somewhere around that range, maybe even a little bit more than $100 for, you know, for something that's pretty old and pretty banged up. But it's tough to get these in great working condition because you don't have the AA batteries here like you do with this. This is an actual internal battery, so it's a little bit more important to make sure that I was paying for one that I could actually charge and actually play. That's sort of where the Game Boys end, you know? I can quickly show you, I have other consoles here, like I've got the DS, which, man, what a trip. I do have the DS. I was absolutely in love with playing my Wild World. Animal Crossing, I think, pretty much started on the DS for me. I didn't really play it on the GameCube. And then after that came the 2DS and the 3DS. This one's my husband. This one was mine. It was too cheap to buy the 3DS. But that's it for the actual Game Boy collections. I do want to talk with you about some of my favorite games if you do want to pick up. If you kind of just want to like start, but start small and know what's worth picking up. Here are just like my very tippity top games that I have loved replaying even as an adult. Okay, I think I've rummaged around and found all the great ones. First and foremost, you need to be playing one of the original Pokemon games. So either red, blue, yellow's fine. I don't know. I'm like whatever about yellow, but red for me was like the start of it all. You have to have red. There is just something about going back and playing this game and realizing that all the Pokemon games that you love and know today originated with this one, and playing it on the original handheld consoles is just such a trip. On that Pokemon note, I would also say it might be worth it to pick up one of the more Game Boy Advance versions. I actually would love to get silver and gold in my collection, but those I've heard are pretty hard to get a hold of. They're super expensive, first of all, but they're hard to get a hold of, and they are super expensive because the internal like save file situation, most of them have not lasted the test of time. So basically you can't actually save your game, which sucks. Why would you want to buy a game that you can't save? So the ones that you actually can save are super expensive. So I don't have those in my collection, but I've enjoyed playing the Pokemon Red, and then also I have Ruby here. So I know there was like Leaf Green, Fire Red, all these other things. Any of the Pokemon games, you gotta get them. But I would definitely say the OG for Game Boy Color. The other Game Boy, like OG Game Boy games I would get would be like a Donkey Kong Country, hello, and then Bust-A-Move. I don't know if you guys have ever played Bust-A-Move or heard of it. It's not anywhere near as like well known as a Pokemon or a Donkey Kong or Mario, but I will say it was like one of my favorites. It's this game where you would have like bubbles, and you would have a gun, a bubble gun, and there would be like bubbles up above, and basically you'd want to shoot the color of bubble you have to hit and get at least 3 of the color above, and you were trying, like the ceiling was coming down on you, and so you're trying to pop all the bubbles before the ceiling came down on you. So it sounds strange, but it was really fun. And then I've got 3 Game Boy Advance games here that I've enjoyed playing again. I think Harvest Moon is a classic if you are into Stardew Valley, any of those like farming sim type games, or even Animal Crossing, to be honest. Harvest Moon was one of the things that kind of like started it all. I've also got Banjo-Kazooie, which I really used to enjoy playing on, God, what console was that? It might have been a PlayStation game. Is it a PlayStation game? I don't remember what console the OG Banjo-Kazooie was on, but it was good. It was really good. I loved playing that game. So this one is Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge. It's not great on Game Boy Advance, but it's not bad. It's worth having. And then the other one I would say is like Harry Potter games are so hit or miss, I feel like. This is the Sorcerer's Stone game. It was for Game Boy Advance. It's not amazing in terms of like the art, but it's got enough to sort of like keep you through the storyline, keep you interested. And for me, it's getting me really pumped for the new Hogwarts Harry Potter Wizarding World. They're not really claiming it as Harry Potter, but the new like Wizarding World game that is going to come out. I think at this point, 2022, which kind of sucks. But this is sort of preparing me for that, even though it's much less. It's just getting me excited. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. I just wanted to walk you guys through my little collection that I've been building up. It is a little passion of mine. I would love to, in this room, ideally, I want to wallpaper this wall over here. And then I would love like in that corner to almost have shelves that kind of like are corner shelves, and maybe have like on display some of my vintage consoles. It's just something that like really takes me back, reminds me of my childhood. I am such a big fan of Nintendo as a brand, and the Game Boys are where it all started. And then on top of that, I think we're moving so quickly. We have all these new consoles coming out all the time, it feels like, and they're getting more and more expensive and more high tech, and sometimes I just like to bring it back to where it began and have a little taste of childhood. So yeah, if you are into Game Boys or collecting any of it, I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below. Otherwise, like, subscribe, you know the drill, and I will catch you guys in the next one.